Fellow Toastmasters, this is the Club Growth Workshop. The idea was born out of club visits where I noticed a lot of clubs had a similar concern, and that was how can we add more members? Ideally, today, our presenters are going to empower you to help you with your club growth. Preparing for this, there's a lot to say about sales and marketing and recruiting, but Toastmaster Terry Abramovitz reminded me that one thing super important when embarking on any new endeavor, whether it's your Toastmasters club, your professional life, your personal life, having a positive mindset makes the difference because optimism is a force multiplier, according to Colin Powell and also Terry. So let's get started. I love using the chat. I see we already started utilizing the chat, and I love that about this group. So let's keep it going. When you think about a guest coming to your club, let's get our brains and our typing fingers warmed up. What do you want a guest to say when they leave? How do you want a guest to describe your club? I'm already seeing some answers, inviting, welcoming, amazing. That's exactly what I would want people to say as well. Supportive, inspired, that they had fun. It was an interesting meeting. I love it. Thank you guys. Yes, all these things, if we had a way to just control everything in the universe, every single guest would leave and they would be awestruck. They would be so excited that they spent their time at our club and they'd be saying all of these things. Now, let's think about this. We have guests that are loving it. They're coming to our meetings. They're having a ball. Think about the other end of the spectrum. I want you to consider, why do Toastmasters clubs dissolve? What are the things that can happen? So go ahead and put this in the chat. What are the things that can happen that make a Toastmasters club stop meeting, fill out that official form that they are no longer a club? What are the things that you can think about? Members move on, they become disinterested, people move away, they can't afford it, negativity. Yes, all of these things. Disinterested, yeah. Attrition. These are all excellent perspectives. So when we're thinking about the Toastmasters journey from the beginning to the end, we're thinking about their experience. We're thinking about what does it mean to be a prospective guest? We're thinking about what does membership mean? And then we're thinking about what does it mean when a club has to shut down? So all of these things are in our minds right now, getting us warmed up to consider the member experience, because that is what our presenters are going to be talking to us today. Now, our panel of speakers is our very own District 18 Director, Toastmaster John Combariotti. He's going to kick us off, and then Toastmaster Beth May, who is our current District 18 newsletter editor, she's going to talk to us after John talks to us about the value proposition. She's going to talk to us about your Toastmaster Club presence. And then yours truly, I'm going to round us out and talk to us about member engagement and what does that mean from the recruiting perspective all the way through. At this time, I'd like to pass it over to Toastmaster John Combariotti to talk to us about the value proposition of a Toastmaster Club.
Thank you, Jessica. So one thing I want to start with thinking about is your own personal Toastmasters journey. Why are you here? For me, I actually sought out Toastmasters. I had read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I actually signed up for their coaching program. And in there, they talked about if you ever want to run a business, you have to be able to speak in public, and they recommended Toastmasters International. So I looked up a club and I came to the meeting. But the reason I enjoyed the meeting and then came back and joined was somebody got me to stand up and do table topics. I don't even remember what the question was, but I won the ribbon that night for best table topic. And I thought, wow, maybe there's something to this. And I don't know if I deserved it or not, or if they were just being generous, but it worked and it got me to keep coming back. And even though my experience wasn't a personal invitation, I will say that a lot of people's ends up being that. It ends up being a personal invitation where somebody reached out to them and said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Toastmasters? You should check it out. I think you would benefit a lot from that." And I'll tell you too that I have invited several people that I care about to join Toastmasters, and it's had a very positive effect on their lives. One example is my father-in-law. He worked as a consultant in the food industry and would give a lot of presentations and does sales and things. And so I said, "Hey, I've been in Toastmasters. You might enjoy it. Why don't you check it out?" And he did. Started going to meetings and he got some significant improvement from it. It helped his business, helped him get to the point now where he's retired. I have a brother that out of college, I invited him to join Toastmasters. He did. He started coming, giving speeches. He actually moved to Florida, but he joined a club down there, kept working at it, getting better and better, getting very comfortable presenting. And he's now an executive in the C-suite of a corporation. So it definitely helped him move up that ladder. And even right now, today, I invited another brother of mine to join Toastmasters. And then I kind of nudged and told him to be the club president of our club this year and an area director. And he's doing the job. And I've seen tremendous growth in him, in his abilities, in what he's doing at his work, and just his general confidence. And he's definitely someone who has had issues with a stutter in the past. And you may not know this about me, but I actually have a stutter myself. And if I don't get enough sleep or if I don't do enough table topics, that stutter starts to come out more and more. It's very much a muscle that you have to keep working on. But there's the certain reality of this is a valuable transformational experience. And, remember what brought you here and remember that you're going to get more people here with a personal invitation. We're going to talk a little bit later on about how do you build, a net to catch the people who are already looking to join. But when we talk about membership goals and turning your club to a positive membership growth, the best activity you can do to lead to new members is to have that personal invitation, whether it's picking up the phone, stopping by a coworker's desk, mentioning it to somebody that you're eating lunch with. That kind of personal invitation is what's going to actually drive action. And if you're upset that, hey, my club only has 4 people showing up to meetings, you can change that. You can bring somebody with you and you'll increase the attendance by 25% right then and there. And that can make the difference. I'll tell you too, that it only takes really about 2 strong leaders in a club, in a Toastmasters club, to really turn a club around. And if you're one and you bring one with you, then even if you feel like, man, my club's not what I want it to be right now, it very much could be, and very quickly. Can you move ahead for me, Jessica? I want to talk about membership though, because a lot of times we think that people, once they join, should do what we expect them to do. We expect them to, stay in Toastmasters for year after year after year and take our volunteer to the next levels of leadership. And maybe they will, but maybe they won't. I find that there's generally about 4 types of members. I've been in Toastmasters for 17 years and I've been through what I call multiple generations of my own personal club, because my club is a somewhat transitory club in Columbia, Maryland, where people move in and they move out all the time. And I've seen kind of these 4 types. People show up and they want to join Toastmasters because they have an event coming up. They got to give a toast at a wedding. They're giving a presentation at a conference. They just moved into a new role and they know they got to speak to people. So they're terrified about one specific event, and they're just joining to get some reps here and some practice here before that event so that they feel more comfortable and more confident. And that's okay. You know, if that's what they're looking for and they get what they're looking for, they're going to leave a positive review. You know, they're going to say, 5 stars, you helped me with my goal. And that's perfectly fine. But don't expect those people to be, you know, the next leaders of your club. And that's okay. But, you know, help them, invest them, and they'll be out there talking up your club. You never know how many people will come to your club meetings because that person had a short but positive experience. So don't feel bad about members like that. They can be your best advocates even if you have no idea. The second one is to the ones that want to reach one milestone. And this was a little more prevalent back at the competent communicator days because it was a little clearer. You know, get your 10 speeches in, get your competent communicator, and people would move on from that. And, you know, that was fine. That's what they were looking for. They were just looking to get over their fear of public speaking and feel a little more competent with the skill set. And nowadays you see that maybe people who finish level 1, maybe for level 2, and that's all they're looking for is they just want to get over the hump. Sometimes these actually end up becoming boomerang members. And what I mean by that is they come, they join, they get over that hump, they go back to their world, then something happens where they got to start speaking again. They realize, oh, wait, I haven't given a speech in 3 years and I totally forgot all that stuff that I learned and my confidence and those butterflies, like it's all a mess. And so they might come back. And I've seen that in my club. I've seen kind of those early generations coming back now and they want to touch up on some skills. So again, if they've had a good experience, if you help them and they reach their goal, they'll remember that and they may come back in the future. The third is kind of the ones that keep joining because they want to keep moving forward. They want to keep getting better. They want to keep progressing. These ones you got to be on top of because they need a challenge. They're the thrill seekers, the challenge seekers. And if you don't keep nudging them, hey, you know, let's step up into club leadership. Let's step up into district leadership. Hey, have you competed in a speech contest? You got to keep throwing that next carrot out in front of them and they'll keep chasing it. But once they run out of carrots, then they're going to move on to the next thing that kind of excites them. And I've seen this too, but they're good people, great people. A lot of them have come into my club. They've gotten educational awards. They've stepped up into leadership, eventually maybe even become the club president. A lot of times we've seen that after they were club president, they just kind of drop off some, and that's fine. But again, they can lead a generation of your club, and they're great members for several years sometimes. And again, you want to help them reach their goals, and as long as they're doing that, even if it's just for a few years, they're going to leave a positive review. They're going to be sending people to you. And then you get the fourth type of member, which is those that are members for life. And I mean, I've been in Toastmasters for 17 years, and there's a reason that I'm still here. It's not necessarily because I feel like, oh, I'm always going to keep moving forward. The next challenge, the next challenge, the next challenge. I am a member of Toastmasters because I know the impact it has made on my own personal life. And if you've known me in the last few years and you didn't know me back in the day, 17 years ago when I joined, you may not really understand or believe it, but when I joined, I was a software developer and I was quiet, unconfident, unpolished, and very, very shy. And when I joined, I wanted to change my life. I wanted my life to be different. I wanted to eventually run my own business, and Toastmasters gave me an opportunity to develop those skills, grow in my confidence. I started getting into leadership. I went back and got my MBA, and I used my Toastmasters skills in the interview. I used it in the application. I remember in my MBA program, I would always be the one willing to do the presentation, and it got me out of doing a lot of the preparation work. It was great. Everybody else was terrified of speaking, and I would just give the presentation. So it was fantastic for me. And then I went back, I did door-to-door sales. I changed careers, started my own business, and it has completely changed my life. So I am a Toastmaster for life because I know what this organization has done for me, and I feel a debt of gratitude that I want to keep paying forward to other people and give back to them. So Again, not everybody's going to be in that category, but there are some Toastmasters for life. And again, you might create people like that. You have that power in this organization where you can pour into somebody and really help them reach their goals, and it can be transformational. But again, there's all 4 types, and don't get mad about the types. Just meet them where they're at, help them reach their goal. And again, they could be your biggest advocates selling for your club out there, and you may not even know it. They might be telling stories and giving speeches about the influence that you've made on their life. And I mean, that's what we're here for, keep making other people better. All right, can you move forward for them? So this I want to talk about is, and Beth is going to go into more detail talking about some actual specifics of this, but this is from the outside looking in kind of thing. Is your club positioning itself to attract the next new member? And what I mean by this is if you were not a member of your club and you hear about Toastmasters and you want to go see what it's about, and you start Googling, or you go on the Toastmasters website and you go to find a club, and somebody selects your club either at the Find a Club or goes to your club website, is that an attractive net that's going to make them want to come check out a meeting? And honestly, you got to ask yourself that question. You got to go to your club website and look from an outsider's perspective and see, does this look attractive or not? If you go on there and you can tell that it hasn't been updated since 2020, and the member list has no pictures, nobody has any accomplishments listed, and it just seems stale, and you try to contact somebody and nobody gets back to you, or you have to try 5 different email addresses just to get a hold of one person, that's not an attractive net. You want to think from the perspective of, what is the easiest possible way for this person to get in contact? The reality of the world is that if there's any barriers of entry, people will stop. They'll get stuck and they'll just won't move forward. And it's sad, but it's true. Or they'll find a different club. Do you know how many people have come to different meetings? I'm in 2 clubs, and we get people from guests that will come, and they'll say, yeah, I checked out this other club. I don't know. I wanted to give it another shot, so I'm here. And then at the end of our meeting, they'll be like, this was amazing. This group is so welcoming. I really felt like I learned a lot. Like, I can't wait to join. Like, that's the net. That's what you want. That's what you need. If you're one of the other clubs, that's what Moments of Truth is all about. That's what, you got to take a hard look in the mirror. And look, if you don't have the skills to build the net, there's people right here on this call that you should be reaching out to for a one-on-one session after this, because you're not going to get everything you need from this. It'll be a help, but reach out to them and have them basically give your club an evaluation of where you stand from their perspective. Do I look like I have the right kind of net to attract new members? And I mean, again, we're trained in how to give feedback, and they'll give it to you nicely, but they'll be honest with you and they'll tell you if you got to work on that net or not. But you got to have something that's bringing new people in. All right, can you move forward for me? When I look at a club that's struggling with membership, we look at the net, we look at the guest pipeline, but then we also look at, what is your pipeline converting a guest to a member look like? And then what do you do with your new members? Because there's 2 points we're looking at, right? Like, if you have, say you have 10 guests show up a year and one of them joins, something is broken in that guest to member pipeline. If you have 10 members join and 2 stay in the club, something's probably broken in the orientation pipeline. So you can just look at your club from a high level and look at those numbers right now, and you can diagnose just from that where you got to be looking at. So the first issue a lot of times with the first part of that pipeline, guest to member, is, are you asking them to join? So we have a very definitive system in our club meetings. At the beginning of the meeting, when we have guests, we ask them simple question. What's your name? What brought you here? And how did you find us? All 3 things are valuable information. We want to know their names so that we can make them feel welcome. We want to know what they're looking for because that helps us figure out how do we match our program and what we have available to their goals. And then we also want to know how they found us because that's how we know what's working. That's how we know if our net is effective or if we got to change some things. If they found us on Google, that's great. And they came, that's fantastic. They found us through Meetup. That means our Meetup page is working. That system's in place and it's producing. If they found us from word of mouth from somebody who was a club member, that's great. That means that people had a great experience and they're telling other people about it. So you want to collect that information. And then at the end of the meeting, before we wrap up, we always ask them, what did you think of our meeting? Now, a lot of times this is good for feedback, absolutely. But the second half of that is if they tell us they had a great time, that's when we ask them to join because it's pretty hard for somebody to say, I had a fantastic time. I got so much out of this, but no, I don't want to join. Like it doesn't add up. So you get them kind of on the hook and then you close the deal by you ask them to join. And then this is a critical step, the orientation of new members. And I've been in the club long enough that I've seen years where we've done it well and years when we haven't. And the years that we don't do it well, all our new members join and they don't renew at the next renewal cycle. And what I mean by doing it well is your club vice president of membership or any officer or any person in the club who's willing to do it, set them up so that when a new member joins, they reach out to set up a one-on-one session and they walk them through the very basics of getting on the club website. So that usually means now accepting the email that Free Toast Host sends them, asking them if they're okay with receiving communications, because they can't do anything if they don't accept that, and then getting them set up on the Toastmasters.org website, having them do the assessment with Pathways, and then showing them how to navigate through Pathways. I did 2 of these meetings today. Earlier today, I did these meetings with 2 of our new members, and they both thanked me for it afterwards, and they are both already engaged, ready to sign up to do speeches and roles. So if people aren't signing up to do speeches and roles, it's probably because they don't actually know how. All right. Can you move to, do I have any other slides? Yes. Okay. One last thing. So nowadays we live in this land of communication where people feel that reaching out to somebody is sending them an email. And if you're like me, you probably get a lot of email. Now, I'm a unique person in that I use my email as my inbox as my to-do list. So I check an email. If I can solve it right then and there, I do it. And then I get rid of the email so I can move forward. If not, I have a kind of a running to-do list. But a lot of people don't do that with their email address. And they have thousands of emails that are unread just sitting there. And your email is just one more on the pile. So when I say you got to actually make an ask, you got to actually talk to somebody, you got to call somebody, you got to have a conversation with them. I mean, we are a public speaking communication organization. And for some reason, I don't know if it's just because we're on Zoom for a lot of times and stuff, we've forgotten that this is what communication is all about, making a personal ask. And it's not just bringing people to club meetings. It also works with bringing people to actually speak and do roles. If somebody asks you personally, you're going to put a lot more thought into whether you're going to say yes or no. Email you can delete, an email you can ignore. Just like if somebody walked in your front door, you kind of have to deal with them. That's how it works with a personal ask. So make that ask. All right. Do I have any other slides? I think I'm good. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate your attention. Jessica, you're still muted.
Rookie error. Thank you so much, Toastmaster, District 18 Director, John Combariotti. At this time, I would like to introduce District 18 newsletter editor, Toastmaster Beth May. If you would take yourself off of mute, please, and talk
Thank
to
you, Jessica.
Oh, here she is.
Okay. I'm so excited to be talking to you today on this subject. I have maybe more material than will fit. So I want to repeat John's invitation. You can reach out to any of the three of us, or for that matter, if you strike up a conversation with someone in chat, we are all helping each other. So please make sure that if you have questions about what you hear today, or you want to pull that string a little more, that you take action and follow up with us. So I have been a Toastmaster for 12 years. I am a lifer, looking at the categories that John described. And I've been in every club officer role except for sergeant at arms and treasurer. I've been an area director, public relations manager for the district, and I'm currently the newsletter editor. And the reason I bring this up is because I ended up on this panel because partially because I had huge success as the vice president membership, but club growth is everybody's responsibility. It's all of the officers' responsibility, from the sergeant at arms opening the meeting in an orderly fashion so that the guests get the right impression of a very well-controlled meeting, right? And everything else that the sergeant at arms does to set up the room, to the VP membership, the VPPR, everybody has a role, and all the other members, to make the guests feel welcome, right? So it's everybody's responsibility. And I belong to Frederick Toastmasters. That's my primary club. We are a 72-year-old club. We meet in person in the evenings. We're an open club. And we currently have 39 members. We average 16 members and 4 guests at every meeting, at each meeting. That's an average. About a 1-year average or more, actually. And we meet in person. During COVID, we did meet online, and then we transitioned to hybrid. And then when nobody showed up online for a hybrid meeting, we stopped doing hybrid and went back to in person. When I was VPM, I was able to, I call it conversions. I use the marketing terminology because that's what the previous VPM, Jerry, did. 25 new members during that club year. And the previous year, Jerry Stevens as VPM got 26 new members. And the reason why I was able to get 25 new members is because I followed the methodology that Jerry had set in place, some of which I'm going to share with you, and I enhanced it. And I also was motivated to try to beat his number. And I missed it by 1. He got 26, I got 25. This year we've got 11 new members so far, and I checked the online TI dashboard, and actually on this date last year, we were at 11 new members and ended up with 25 new ones. So we could do that again. So this is what's possible. So we use Free Toast Host website. We use email, texting, social media. We use all the communication channels because some people like some channels and not others. So if you use all the channels, you'll reach more people. And so at this point, I want to show you our Free Toast Host website. It looks like this. And talking about social media first? No. First, we're going to talk about standard content. When you look at our page, this is a recent photograph. These are our current officers. All of the content is current. There is nothing stale and outdated. I have seen web pages with photographs and verbiage from 2021 or earlier. And while the club might be active and engaged now, it doesn't look it to look at their webpage or look at their Facebook, and the last post was 3 years ago, right? So it's important that you present a face to the public that you are a vibrant, active, ongoing concern, right? So all of our content is current. When you go to meeting information directions, it's current. We actually did, when we have special events, we put it on that page and then we take it down after the special event. So we do have an open house coming up. Our calendar, I don't know how many of you have Free Toast Host sites. The calendar will automatically, and this is a relatively new feature within the last couple years, maybe. I know when I first started using Free Toast Host, it didn't automatically, I don't think, put club meetings on the calendar, but it does now. So the blue ones are club meetings. It automatically puts those on the calendar based on the agendas you build. And then and you can't really edit them. So as the website administrator for my club, I went ahead and I added an event called Open House Potluck Dinner and Club Meeting on the same day, and it's actually the same time. But when you click on it, you get to, oh, I'm logged in as admin, so I'm getting that instead of getting what a guest would get. If I weren't logged in as admin right now, so I could show you some things, a guest would be getting,
Beth, just real quick, we're still
yes,
seeing Jessica's screen, not your screen.
you're kidding me. It says I'm screen sharing.
I can see it.
I see Frederick Toastmasters Club.
Yeah, I
Oh,
can see
oh, thank
Beth's
goodness.
screen also.
Yeah. John, do you have her deck open and you're not looking at the Zoom screen or?
Oh, there's multiple screen shares. One of the things about Zoom is that multiple people can share the screen.
Oh, Jessica, please
But if you go
click stop
right,
share.
but if you switch to Beth's screen, it'll show the Frederick Toastmaster Club.
I see it
Okay.
now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Good sleuthing. So this is what the prospective guest or member would see if they clicked on that calendar entry. And again, I was over here and I clicked on, if I were not logged in as site admin, when I click on Open House Potluck Dinner, it would open this custom web page. So so there's standard content you can exploit and should make sure that all of your content is up to date. We, a few years ago, encouraged all of our members to make sure to establish a member profile. And so this is also a face of your club to the public. When you do your member profile, when you're logged in, there's an edit member profile on the menu, and there's a checkbox that says make it public. So you get to decide whether your profile will show up on the main menu versus the members only menu. And so we encouraged our members to make sure to update their profiles and share them with the public. And so we have a great face to the public because they can see the diversity of our membership. And diversity is actually one of the strong points of our club, in my opinion. It's one of the reasons why I joined this particular club. So those are some of the things you can do. And then you can also do custom web pages. So you can see that on the public menu, I have 2025 winter open house. And that's linked from the calendar and it's linked from social media. It's linked from a variety of places. And then I also have a members only 2025 open house because somebody suggested, oh, I'm not logged in as a member and I can't get to that even though I'm logged in as an admin. Someone suggested to me that we don't want the general public using the Sign Up Genius to sign up to bring food because there are too many crazies out there. So we're saying just show up, you can eat the food we bring. And we have a separate page for members to be able to get to the Sign Up Genius so that they can actually bring a dish. So there's a lot of things you can do with a free Toast Host website. And I'm happy to talk about it in a free Toast Host training session. I just did one for one specific club. So let me move on from there. When we go back to my homepage for our club's homepage, we have all of our social media. So here's Facebook. And so we, our VPPR is very active in making sure that there are frequent posts. There are photos. We take a group photo, including guests at every meeting, and she'll post those. She'll post articles. We had a speaker. We had a member speak at a Veterans Day ceremony. We had a networking mixer event. We had an event with Village Crossing, which is a retirement home outside of Frederick. So she keeps that active. But here's an important thing. If you have a Facebook page, you not only want to make sure you post relatively frequently and don't let it go stale, but you also want to make sure you check for messages. Because, for instance, here's Ken Jones who sent a message and said, oh, I'm interested in joining. And sometimes that's the only contact as a VPM I would have with a prospective member or prospective guest is through a message sent through Facebook or Meetup or LinkedIn or even a phone call. So whatever social media you have, you need to stay on top of the messages portion of that social media to answer incoming inquiries. And we do. So let's go back to our homepage. We have a LinkedIn page. When somebody becomes a member of our club, and I'm logged in as admin, so I'm going to view as member. We ask them if they would mind if they don't mind that we publish a welcome to the club post. And so we've had a lot of posts, so I have to scroll down. We haven't had new members say yes, I guess, recently. I wanted to show you an example of welcome to the club. Gosh, we haven't done one in a while. I'm going to go check with my VPM and VPPR why we don't. Here we go. Oh, Dallas. No, he's not our most recent. Dallas joined our club. And we said Frederick Toastmasters is excited to welcome Dallas, and then a photo. And usually multiple members will comment and say, welcome Dallas, et cetera, right? So that's a nice thing to do. And then when they have an accomplishment like Ariel talking at the Veterans Day ceremony, we put that on LinkedIn as well. So any professional type accomplishments, we help get attention for our members by putting it on our LinkedIn page. And this, again, is someplace where you're going to want to check your incoming messages from potential and comments that are made to posts. Now, if we look at YouTube, we used to post all of our meeting videos to YouTube, and then someone had a concern about that. So we stopped publishing it to a public YouTube channel. We now use a private YouTube channel that you can only get to from the members only menu on our Free Toast Toast website. But we do have some content out there. So it's a decision, a conscious decision you need to make as to whether you have videos and want to post them and whether they'll be public or private. And then finally, Meetup. We used to have our own Meetup channel, and now we use the District 18 Toastmasters Meetup. They have a West and an East, and the instructions for how to get added as an admin so you can add your own events are on the District 18 webpage. And you can see our next meeting is January 16th, and there's our event. And we thought that we weren't getting that many people from Meetup, but we're still getting people from Meetup. And in fact, I just had a message from someone. Oh, that's notifications. I wanted to be in messages about our meeting and when it was. Messages. There we go. There it is. This is a prospective member who showed up at the wrong location because I had updated 2 of our event series, our 3rd Thursday of the month and our 5th Thursday of the month, but I forgot to update the 1st Thursday of the month with our new location. We moved and she went to the old one. And so I apologized and I told her what the correction is and correct location and et cetera. And then I updated. So you want to stay on top of your messages for any channel that you are using. Speaking of channels for getting members and that casting that net that John talked about, if you want an idea of where we're getting our members, because we get a lot, I actually have, when I was VPM, and our new VPM is doing the same, tracking every prospect we ever get and all their contact information. Sometimes it's a phone number only, so we end up texting or calling them. Sometimes, John, yes, we do use emails. But I take your point. And this is a pie graph I did for the year I was VPM. And it shows that, and I'm going to increase the view. It shows that initial contact with prospective members, they showed up at a meeting, 34%. They filled out TI's contact the club form through the Find a Club thing, 28% of them. And this is 110 prospects during that Toastmasters year. So about 30%, about 33 people filled out the TI's contact club form, 10% direct phone call, 10% club contact us form from the Free Toast Toast website, and 6% direct email to VPM, RSVP'd for a potluck, word of mouth, guest sign-in form, Facebook Messenger. So we get them from all the channels. And I did want to say something else. Oh, phone numbers. On the Find a Club, on, is this where I put Find a Club? It is not where I put Find a Club. It's in here. I have Zoom controls covering what I want to say. On the Find a Club page, TI's Find a Club page, you can now, and this is about a year or so old, this capability, advertise events on Find a Club. So when I click, if I were a member of the general public and I click on Frederick Toastmasters, I see our open house because in Club Central, there's a place to put event information that will show up on Find a Club. So I think a lot of people don't know about that. That's one thing I wanted to talk about. The other thing I wanted to talk about is I would get phone calls from prospective guests slash members because my phone number was published on the Find a Club webpage. And that's also a choice. You have an option of publishing a phone number, and I put mine there last year, and our current VPM put hers there. You can also put it in free Toast Host so that it'll show up when someone clicks on your contact us form. It says Leah Widley, VPM, and her phone number. That's because there's a setting in free Toast Host where she can say, yes, I'm willing to take phone calls. So make as many channels available, cast a broad net. Oh, how am I doing on time? 6:44. Oh, I'm almost out of time, and I've only done one slide's worth. Well, I've done pieces of multiple slides. So we talked about the open house, the Find a Club. We talked about village. So let's go back to the slide deck. Share success stories, event highlights, member testimonials. We do that through social media. We do that internally. We promote events. We just talked about this. Invite guest speakers, change it up. There was a dry spell of getting people to sign up for speeches, mostly when we were hybrid. And during that dry spell where we would have 0 to 2 speeches on an agenda that could accommodate 3 to 4 speeches, we would fill in the space with videos of World Championship of Public Speaking speeches. And then we do a round robin evaluation of what we thought worked well and what might not have worked, because even world champions make mistakes in their speeches. So we would always find some way to fill the void. And this year, our new president, she has some really fun activities that she occasionally does just to change it up. And when you change it up, it makes a good impression on the guests, but it also does wonders for retention because they'll keep coming back for more because it's not the same o every week. Partner with local businesses, schools, and organizations. We haven't done a lot of pull. Push. We haven't done a lot of going out into the community to look for opportunities, but when the community comes to us and says, would you be interested? We always say yes. And so this year we did a presentation at the retirement home, Village Crossing, and we submitted a press release using the template for press releases in the Brand Central. And it got published by Frederick News Post. I have that up, but I'm not going to show it to you because I'm running out of time. We are going to do something with Frederick County Association of Realtors, who hosts our meetings in their building. We're going to be at their event to recruit more members. We were invited to be judges at the Future Business Leaders of America conference, and I went and I was a judge there for public speaking competition. Last year, we did presentations for the Walkersville Seniors Club, and in a previous year, a homeschooling group asked us if we could come give a presentation on public speaking, and I went and did that. So what we do is we open it up to the whole club, and whoever wants from the club is interested, then we all get together and coordinate, and then we go do that. So look for those opportunities or at least be open to them if anyone contacts you. It's a great way to get the message out and get more prospective guests who then turn into members. Now, turning them into members, make it easy to join. I showed you that I had a graph. I kept an exhaustive spreadsheet of anyone who ever reached out to us. We also have, and this is important, and this is where I'll end because I know I can't see Jessica's screen for the timing cue, but I know I'm running out of time. I want to show you our blue folder. A few years ago, I think it was just before COVID. It became necessary during COVID, but before COVID, we made our guest packet digital. So information for guests, a virtual blue folder, you click that. We still have physical blue folders, and they have a trifold brochure, a one-sheeter that explains the roles and activities of a meeting, an explanation that we actually developed that says what the fees are and what the value is, and the membership application that's already pre-populated with our club information, and they just have to add their own information. That we still give out hard copy if they want it, and it includes in that folder a QR code that's also on every agenda. Every meeting agenda also has this QR code, and this QR code goes to that guest web page, which says, "Hey, please sign our guest sign-in book." And most guests do, and this is how we can follow up with them. So if if they're not willing to join that night, and I agree with John, you got to make the strike while the iron is hot. Then we do a follow-up email. We say, we noticed you enjoyed, or you said you enjoyed it. What are your thoughts about joining? And on that note, we have a whole VPM manual for our club that talks about all of these activities and actually has templates for all the communications we do with prospective members. And it's something that I've shared before and could do again. I think our club doesn't mind. It talks about all of the different channels, what to do before, during, and after meetings, what's in the guest packet and how to maintain it, how to handle membership payments, doing the new member welcome on LinkedIn, doing a new member induction. We don't do that, but it talks about the fact that that is an option, and clubs should make a conscious decision whether to do it. And then fielding prospective member inquiries and how to do the application, everything. And then our communication template has different communications for if it's a cold, cold or warm. Warm means you talked to them before the meeting, they showed up, and you're following up. And cold is they showed up at a meeting, you never heard from them before, and now you're reaching out to them. So we have a lot of different templates that have worked extremely well to stay in touch with and convert members. And then finally, on the last slot, so we make it as easy to join. They can fill out the PDF application that they find online, or they can fill out the hard copy application that we give them in the folder. They can bring a check, they can pay online, etc. And then we welcome them with LinkedIn. We assign them a mentor right away. And our VPM is currently doing online tutorials where she says, bring your laptop, or she lets them use her laptop and makes sure they know how to log into Free Toast Host, and they know how to log into Toastmasters.org and get into Pathways. So we do a lot to make sure that guests feel welcome and enjoy their experience, and that we convert them to members, and that new members get all of that support that John and talked about, and that Jessica alluded to, and we'll talk about some more.
Wow. Toastmaster Beth May. I gotta tell you, I I sort of feel like this should be the Beth show. My goodness, I'm speechless. Here we go. Let me conclude us. How about that? Let me see if I can you see my screen? Everybody. Okay, excellent. Thank you again. Amazing. And I made this slide thinking, wow, look how good of a job I did last year with only getting 10 members. Okay, let me keep going here. I'm going to reiterate what Beth and John said to conclude us, and then we're going to have a Q&A. I saw some people putting some questions in the chat, so we want to make sure that we're able to get to those and help any specific issues or specific examples. As John said, retention is the key to growth. And we want to make sure that we are hosting a well-executed meeting. And I feel like this is akin to when you have guests over to your house for dinner. What do? You clean up. You make sure it's a nice environment. You make sure it's a good energy, great conversations. Why? Because you want your guests to come back. You want your friends to come back. You don't want your friends leaving going, we're never going over there again. You want them leaving going, I love being with them. They are so great, and I feel amazing when I'm with them. That's the same as your club. You want to make sure you have your house clean, do a great meeting, and then get the guests in. As Beth said, we want to make sure we are tracking our recruitment success. We want to know, how are people finding out about us? Exactly as John said, make that ask. How'd you hear about us? what brings you to our club? And we want to make sure that we are tracking that data so that we can utilize it to make future decisions. Obviously, we're in a volunteer organization. We want to do what works and we don't want to waste our time. So if we find that we have a lot of success in one area, then we can continue to push energy in that direction. And we can get that by asking for that feedback. When it comes to building that stronger Toastmasters club, as Beth very wonderfully illustrated, you can create email templates and make sure that you have all of the information that your prospective guest needs to make an informed decision. And you want to make sure that you are able to answer inquiries consistently. We don't want to let a hot lead fade away because they will find a different club if they are motivated enough. So we want to make sure that our VPMs have a solid plan of action and that they feel supported in order to make those things happen. And you can do that. You can make things easier by creating those templates that let people know what is Toastmasters International and what does it mean to come to your specific club. The other thing that John mentioned is we want to work on engagement. And as Beth said, if you can create a clear and transparent path for a new member, then they're able to get themselves started. Another thing that I love to do is try to get the new members to plan their icebreaker as soon as possible. We don't want somebody to join, doesn't matter what type of member they are, as John had mentioned. I'm a lifer, by the way, but let's just say you have somebody who's there for one event. We want to get them engaged as soon as possible. And again, as John said, when you have solid members and they give word of mouth referrals, that's a solid referral. And once you get people in the door, we want to go back around and ask, why are they staying a member of this club? Because we want to nurture the value that our specific club can bring to a prospective applicant. Many clubs have legacy members. Many clubs have people who have been a member for decades. That's a wealth of knowledge. If you're looking to improve, having somebody who has been practicing public speaking for decades, I mean, my gosh, that's amazing to be in the same situation where that person can give you an evaluation, maybe even be your mentor. I mean, incredible. So we can nurture the value of our club by asking, okay, we know what brings them in, what gets people to stay? So much information. I gotta tell you, my brain is on fire. It's on fire right now. But I know personally, one thing that I want to do, a small change that I want to do, is I want to take that Toast Host tutorial back to my club. Why don't you go ahead as we're downloading all this information? What are some ideas? Put it in the chat. What are some ideas that you could take back to your club? Is it tracking your recruitment activities? Is it tracking the feedback from your prospective guests? Is it understanding why people convert? Is it, hey, you want to work on Toast Host? You want to work on other channels of marketing? Where are the opportunities within your current situation now that you can start considering to push the energy into improving and strengthening that area? I'm getting some chats in, and I am seeing improvements to the websites, return to in-person meetings, guest page on website, LinkedIn. Yeah, a lot of websites. I agree. The Toast Host thing was incredible. Beth, you may need to do a whole nother session because that was amazing. So the key takeaway here, fellow Toastmasters, you wonderful, wonderful people who are working hard to have good quality clubs, is to implement these ideas. So take all of this information back. We're going to record this. We're going to give you this information. Take it back to your club and figure out, even if it's something small, what can you do today to get that started. I am going to stop the share of my screen, and we now have an opportunity for questions and answers. Now, I noticed Jim Book had a great question for Toastmaster Beth May. Beth, if you could take yourself off mute here, Jim has a question for you.
Okay.
Since the VPM and VPPR roles change, how is ownership of LinkedIn or Facebook transferred? Great question, Jim.
Yeah, great question. So, in our club, we do have these role specific manuals. And so each new person in that role will review it, add what they want to it. And it includes, making sure that you're giving access to the other person. So all you have to do, what we do is you have to know the incoming officer's LinkedIn profile name or Facebook profile name. And then you go into the Meta's business suite, whatever it's called, where you can give access to other people as admins. And we do that. And now they're an admin on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. And we don't often take people off. We just keep adding people on. So I'm still on there, even though I haven't been, VPM since last year. But you can manage everything from those admin consoles. Same with LinkedIn. You don't have to have the login credentials. You just have to have someone who currently has admin privileges to give you admin privileges. And it's a good thing to do every year with the change of officers.
And
That's
also
a good
say,
and oh, sorry, John, go ahead.
sometimes it's really valuable to not take off your previous admins, because if something happens with the pipeline or something gets messed up, you can reach back out to them and somebody still has access and can fix things for you. So that chain isn't broken and you don't go back and end up restarting or recreating what you've already done.
That's a great question. That's a great point. And while you're off of mute, John, what if you have no tech savvy members? They're old school, they don't like Pathways, and they don't use it. How would you influence those members?
So it's a great chance to try to start recruiting younger members to your club. Every club benefits from diversity. Like Beth said, it's a strength in, cultural backgrounds. It's a strength in different ages of members. And, some of the older members might have decades of public speaking experience and give great evaluations. Some of the newer people, maybe they lend some skills with helping with technology and managing some of these things, getting them set up in a way such that the systems are easily transferable to people who are a little hesitant with technology or a little reticent. Once you get these things set up, it's really not as hard to maintain them. It's just that initial getting over the hump. And that's where, again, I would talk to Beth, set up a one-on-one with her for your club, have her help you walk through getting the setup done. And then again, the maintenance is just so much smoother, so much easier than all that initial upfront stuff.
Yeah, excellent point. And Sue mentioned in her club that an admin passed away and they couldn't replace it, so they had to start up a new account. So that to reiterate your point about having more than one admin, it is obviously a great idea. Now, Beth, I have a quick question for you about all of the information that you were showing us. Now, your club, Frederick Toastmasters, is not a corporate club. From your experience, would you do anything different if you were implementing these same all the things that you're doing online with Toast Host, with LinkedIn, all these things. Would you do anything different for a corporate club?
That is a great question, Jessica. And I did start out in a corporate club 10, 12 years ago, and I was there for 2 years. And it was small, and we struggled with membership all the time, and we didn't do any of the things that I'm talking about. So I would do all the things similarly, if not the same. So, for example, I've heard other corporate clubs say that for whatever reason, either corporate policy or for security reasons, whatever, they can't put themselves out there on public social media. Well, if that's the case, most companies have internal social media. They'll have Slack or any number of tools that they use. I can't think of any of them offhand. But Slack and all those types of tools where you can do instant messaging and that kind of thing. I would just do the same kinds of things we're doing on social media on the corporate channels. And I would also go to the HR department and see if I can get some information about the club included in the new hires onboarding welcome packet, whatever, or the onboarding process. And I would also get the book that was written by past international president Pat, can't remember last name, from Canada.
Johnson.
Johnston.
Pat Johnson wrote the definitive book on how you run a really great corporate club. And that answers some of these questions.
Oh, excellent. Would you be able to email me
I
that?
couldn't find it on Amazon, but I think the Toastmasters store has it. So yeah, as a follow-up, I'll tell you where I found it.
Okay, thank you so much. I definitely have some corporate clubs that would, love some assistance, specifically with recruiting. And I know that a corporate club has a different set of challenges than maybe a public club. So that would be really, really beneficial. Thank you so much. So I have a question for you, John. Thinking about all of the templates that Beth created, how do you feel about the usage of ChatGPT to create marketing information like the email templates for the Toastmasters clubs? Because if you don't know about ChatGPT, it is a way to have AI. This is for everybody, just in case you don't know what ChatGPT is. A way for AI to create information, a document, a template, whatever, for you. So if you're somebody who is, maybe you don't want to create the content, whatever the case may be, you can go into ChatGPT and it create a formatted item for you. So John, how do you feel about people utilizing ChatGPT for marketing and fly? Teresa Patterson, Toastmaster Teresa Patterson mentioned that they use it for flyers. Well, how do you feel about that for email templates and things like that?
Well, there was a question earlier about older members, a little reticent with technology, and the beauty of some of these newer technology tools like ChatGPT, like Canva, is that a lot of the work and things that can be difficult to figure out if you're starting from scratch or you don't know what you're doing is done for you by these tools. So if you just get a little bit of time invested in just trying them out, playing around with them, a lot of that work will be done for you as simple as possible and kind of shortcut this learning curve and take a lot of it off of your plate. So I would highly recommend, don't go back and, start with Photoshop or Microsoft Word or something like that. These tools will jump in and give you a higher level of professionalism as the default and with a lot lower, faster learning curve.
Beth, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I want to, and thank you, emphatically agree. I run a nonprofit and we're about to run a big event, and I've had to send a lot of communications out, text messages, emails, you name it, forms, create the forms, the registration form for the event, using our customer relationship management tool called Charity Engine. And every step of the way for the past several weeks, I have been constantly using ChatGPT. Now, Prosperity AI, and there's a new one that I just learned about that seems pretty slick. I can't remember the name because I just learned it. But there's a bunch of large language model AI, generative large language model AI tools out there. You can use any of them. And I use ChatGPT free model, and it's good enough for me. Sometimes I interact with it enough times that it says you've reached your maximum and you'll have to wait another couple hours before it gets reset. But I'll say, I need to do X, Y, and Z. Please draft an email to, ABC telling them 1, 2, 3. And it'll generate an email, and I'll say, well, that's not good because blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, oh, okay. And it'll generate another draft. And then I'll end up revising the draft it generates. So I won't always use it specifically. We don't want to, trust, just take something it generates. We want to look at it critically, decide if it's going to get the job done, decide if it's accurate, tweak it, and then send it. And it just makes my life so much easier because it'll say, well, it can be a little more, it'll always say, that's very comprehensive and accurate and succinct and professional, but it could be a little more professional. Try these tweaks, right? And it does. It just makes my writing more friendly and more professional than it already is.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for adding that. And Toastmaster Carlene put a link for a handbook for building and sustaining vibrant Toastmasters programs in corporations. Thank you so much for that, Carlene. I'm going to go ahead and open that now so that I can make sure I'm sending it to my corporate clubs. Also, I put in a link while we're wrapping up our Q&A. I put in a link for SurveyMonkey. If you wouldn't mind going ahead and clicking on that and giving us feedback so we know how you felt about this type of session. If it's something that you love, maybe there's more for us in the future. I want to bring up also, and maybe you have information about this, Beth, the brand portal, because I feel like I heard you say something about it. I don't know if everybody is familiar with the brand portal on Toastmasters.org.
Yeah, so I always have it open. So I will just scroll down to where I always have it open. Here it is. And I will show it to you. Share. So if you go to Toastmasters.org, I'm not going to show you how to navigate to it at the moment because I already had it open and I would have to think for a minute about that. But I can put this, you just do a search on Brand Portal and you'll find it. Just do a Google on Toastmasters Brand Portal and it'll probably go straight there. It's interactive. It used to be a PDF, but now it's a little more interactive, and I'm going to make this a little bit, there we go. So you can download it. It's got core values, promise, voice and tone, visual guidelines. I use this a lot for the colors. So if I do a search on color palette, when I'm working in Canva or any media and I want to use Toastmasters Blue and Toastmasters Maroon, I go ahead and copy paste, right? True Maroon. Now I've copied the hex code for that maroon and I can use it in Canva or PowerPoint or anywhere. So that's what this little symbol means. It'll copy it for you. So it gives you the colors. It tells you what you can and can't do with the Toastmasters International logo. Notice these are all the things you cannot do with it. It's just a huge, this is the brand manual. You asked about the brand portal, which is even better because it has the templates for, look what I did. The templates for press releases and such.
Mm-hmm.
It has a whole bunch of things. So I'm just going to do brand. And wow, okay. How about brand portal? There we go. Do a brand portal search at Toastmasters.org and it's the first hit. And I don't know why. I guess you have to be a member. I've been getting this a lot, even on stuff that's shared with the public. I don't know why it always makes me log in, even for stuff that the public can get to. But It is logging in. There we go, the brand portal. Business card templates, stationery templates, website templates, and the brand manual we were just looking at, branded images, trademark use request, Centennial stuff, which I actually emailed them and they said, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. I don't know why they still have it up. And somewhere in here is how to do press releases. And I'm surprised it's not, I don't think it's in the stationery templates. So if you did press release in the resources module, oh. There we go. Boilerplate example, here's a press release. And we actually used that for our press release about our Village Crossing. And that's actually, it's an example, they gave you an example, not just a template. Last time I downloaded it, it was just a template that said, put your, your date and location here, put your body here, and then it included the text for the about. And if you did a press release using the official template from the brand portal, like a year ago, this has changed because the number of members we have is nowhere near as much as it was a year or two ago. So you don't want to keep using the same press release file over and over. Every now and then you want to download a fresh template from the brand portal.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Anything that we can, any resources that we have at our fingertips that make it easier for us as people who are serving in a volunteer-led organization is so helpful. I mean, not to say that I don't want to do the work, but boy, making my life easier is something that I love. Now, I just want to solicit any more questions. This is an opportunity to ask a question directly to Beth or John. Is there anybody who can think of anything that you'd like to have more information on? If not, oh, Tisha, is that you?
If somebody has the support for Toast Host, we're locked out of Toast Host because the previous person in contact and access is your support. How can we get to use it? Because it's an excellent tool.
Yeah, there is support. I will, Tisha Rose, I will look up who the contact is for you and send it to you.
Excellent. Thank you.
I just wanted to say real quick, there's a famous quote by Pablo Picasso. It's good artists borrow, great artists steal. And I think that's kind of a mentality we should adopt some, right? Like you see these clubs that are having 25 members a year join. And then Terry Abramovitz is a member of Voice of a Woman Toastmasters Club, which I believe have had 16 members join already this year.
We've hit 14 for a total of 31 members now.
So
we've never been this high.
But there are clubs out there doing an amazing job recruiting members. And if your club is having membership issues, talk to them, find out what they're doing, steal it, take it home with you to your club and implement it. Because it's not magic, it's a system that they know works. So you can do the same thing for your club. If it's a corporate club, you adapt it a little bit, but you can still make it work. You can still be successful just like they're being successful.
Excellent. Do we have a hand up? Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question.
Right, just adding on to what John said, I wouldn't just talk to someone from the club. I would actually go to a club meeting to see what it's all about because I traditionally join smaller clubs. So it's kind of a shock to go to a large club and like, wow, all your roles are filled. Or, wow, you actually have someone who can greet people and we're not scrambling trying to fill the agenda.
It's nice.
Yeah, I will echo that. I'll say that, I've been doing club visits and it is so fun to go to another club and see what are they doing, what are they excelling at, what are the things that I'm looking at and going, oh my God, that is a great idea. And it could be something so small, but small means accessible. So, I think I agree with you. I think that that's such a great idea. If you ever feel, if you're in a leadership position for a Toastmasters club and you feel stuck, you can always go to another club, and that inspiration and that spark can be just one visit away. Okay, thanks for offering your support. Terry is happy to share her process. And Stephanie wants to connect with you, Terry.
I'm getting some questions personally. So I'm just going to put my email in the chat just for everybody
Great
if anyone
idea.
wants to reach out or visit our club.
Great idea.
Thanks.
Great idea. So if there's no questions for our presenters, I'm gonna tie us up with one more prompt for each. John, do you have one small thing that you can recommend that makes a big difference based off of what you talked about today? A small thing.
Well, I want to share something that we actually just learned at the mid-year training because TI was showing us the numbers for club growth over the last 10 years. And before the pandemic, Toastmasters was growing every year. And then we had kind of a pullback during the pandemic, and we're still seeing a little bit of a hangover from that. And I asked them, what is it, all the clubs that are having membership issues or just some? Are the in-person clubs doing differently than the virtual clubs? And the sad reality is that yes, in-person clubs are generally gaining members. Virtual clubs are generally having trouble with retaining and gaining membership. And I know it's not the reality for every club. Some clubs should remain virtual, and some clubs are very successful virtual. Voice of a Woman is a great example of that. But if you're having trouble with membership, maybe it's because the members aren't feeling the same energy and getting the same value that they would if you were meeting in person. My club came back in person a couple years ago, and we started Whitehall Mill last year, and we moved them in person. And we get people showing up who say, I sit on a computer all day, I'm virtual for work. I want to be here to talk to other people and see other faces. So there are people who are looking for that. There are members out there who want to see and get together with people. So think about it, talk about it. If you can do it, it may be worth making that transition back. Maybe it's one time you meet in person, one time you meet virtual for a month. Find out what's right for your club, but that can interject a lot of good energy.
So you're saying solicit feedback from the members, see if the small change that they may want to make is to go back in person and ask them the question, why do you stay, and what would make you more engaged?
And if you have trouble
That's
finding a location, just reach out to the district. We'll talk to you with it. And we'll try to hunt down a space and you find something that'll work for you.
Great. Thank you so much. And Toastmaster Beth May, the same question to you. What is a small change from your perspective that Toastmasters can take back to their club today?
Off the top of my head, I think that one of the biggest challenges that I've seen and heard of, I've heard other people say this is one of the biggest challenges for clubs to get new members, is having the courage to make the ask. Like John said, so we actually have on our agenda, near the beginning of the agenda, we have VPM asks guests to introduce themselves. And usually before the meeting even starts, the VPM or me, if she's not there, will tell the guest, heads up, we're going to ask you to introduce yourself toward the beginning of the meeting, and toward the end of the meeting, and it's on the agenda, we're going to ask you how you felt about your experience here tonight. Not how you liked it, but how you felt, right? We're asking them to speak from the heart, right? And if someone stands up at the end of the meeting and says, this was awesome, I can't wait to be a member, that's when you got to ask them to join. Now, if they have an obligation and they have to be somewhere at a certain time and they have to leave right away and you don't get to make the ask, make it by a phone call or an email or text or whatever. especially if you know what their preference is, right? Because everyone has different preferences. So when John said call, don't email, I work with some high school students who cringed when I asked for their phone number, and I said, I'll only use it in an emergency. I promise. I'll only text you, and I'll only call you if I have to. So there are younger generation who don't want the phone call but will accept the text, right? So follow up with them right away. It's so important. So make the ask. That's the one thing. Make sure your club is following through with your guests and if they don't come back again, reach out to them 3 months later and say, hey, you didn't come back again. Have you, is there anything we can do to help you? Our previous VPM had the perfect language for how to approach them in a very supportive, non-intrusive way, say, is there something keeping you from coming back that we can help you with? And I can't even think of the words, but he had it phrased perfectly. And we had one person join because of that. They said, I didn't show up when I was supposed to, and your VPM reached out and said, we missed you. And I couldn't believe that he actually paid attention. And so they ended up coming for a different meeting and then joining. It makes a difference.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. I want to personally thank Toastmaster District 18 Director John Cambiariotti and Toastmaster District 18 Newsletter Editor Beth May for presenting today. You have provided us with so much information, so many ideas, and a lot of inspiration. I personally feel empowered. I know I'm going to bring some of these ideas back to my club, and I really hope that the rest of the audience feels the same as I did today. I don't see any more questions in our chat and no more hands. So everybody, if you haven't clicked the Survey Monkey, please go ahead and do that now. Give us some feedback. Let us know how you felt about our workshop today. And we have the recording that will be made available from Toastmaster John Cambiariotti. And Beth wants to say one more thing before we say goodbye. Beth.
Yep, one more thing. This workshop exists because of Jessica. She did the initial, we should do this, and she did all the coordination, collaboration, communication. So thank you to Jessica for making this happen.
Thanks for that shout out. I really appreciate that. I pay her to compliment everybody else. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much, everybody. I really, really appreciate your time tonight, and I hope that you felt like this was time well spent. Everybody have a good evening, and we will be in touch.